Okay, the next section we'd like to walk through is how we're going to leverage Microsoft CRM to manage quotes. So we've taken you through accounts, contacts, activities, opportunities. The next thing we're going to look at is once you've created an opportunity, how can we create a quote and get the business sold? So we're in the account screen here. If you can't remember the details of the quote, you can just go in and you can look at it in an account. So we know Weston Prints, we have an opportunity, so we can go down here and we can say, yeah, here's the opportunity. Or we could also go directly and say, here's the quote. So we're going to walk through an existing quote first, just so we can see the details in terms of how quotes are set up and what the components are. So when we're in an opportunity, we'll create a quote, and it will run us through the details here where we need to have a name, we need to link it to the customer. You know, you've got to determine, is it an existing customer or is it renewal? You know, as we're updating or revising them, they're also there. Are we working with an agency? Are there any specific instructions? You can track here who are the contacts, and contacts relate to the opportunity. Who are we working with internally? Who's the coordinator? Who's the authorized contact to the customer? You know, are there potential resources or payment instructions? All that information can be entered here. Are there any notes, you know, address changes, specific shipping instructions? But I don't think any of that applies here. So once we're done that and we want to actually generate a quote for the customer to send out, we just come over here to reports and we can pick the type of quote. So if it's just a standard advertising agreement in English, we select English. And what this will do is it'll create a PDF version of the quote that we have the ability to send out to the customer for signature. So again, all the information we entered is here. And again, we've got, you know, the basic details here on the customer. We can go over to page 2. And page 2 is going to give us, you know, these are the lines we've quoted for print. Page 3 will give us any lines we've quoted for digital. And then page 4 will give us what I call are the standard T's and C's associated with that. So if we want to print this out, we just come over here and we say, look, I want to print this out as a PDF, export it to PDF, and it'll give us a PDF version that we have the ability to then send out to the customer to get them to sign. And once we've received the signed copy back, we can close out the quote and we can get it moved on. So what we've looked at so far is how we're going to handle quotes at a high level, you know, in terms of existing quotes. Now, the next thing I'd like to walk through is the process we're actually going to go through to make that happen. So if we go back to the dummy account here and let's look at Vox, we can see here that, you know, we've got an opportunity in this account, so let's work with the existing opportunity. And what we've got the ability to do here is we can create a new quote for this opportunity. And all we're going to do is we're going to go in here and say, look, I want to create a new quote. And it will automatically pull the appropriate information over. So if we go here into quotes, we can see that this is the second quote that we're working on. We open it up, and this is what's going to pass through. So it's told us the customer, it's passed through the name, you know, agency. But what we need to do is update the contract status and say whether it's new. You know, are there any special instructions or PO or special instructions for digital? All that needs to be put in here. And then, you know, are there any specific contacts that we're dealing with? So who's the St. Joseph's coordinator? So we can say that Jennifer is. You know, who's the authorized agency that we're working with? And who's the contact at that agency? We also have the ability to talk about who the potential production contact is within the client, and again, we can pick that so that as we're starting to generate the quotes, all the details are there. On the notes section, if there's special notes, all of that can be done as well, so that as we're going through and creating this, same sort of process occurs, that we go in here, we select if it's English that we want to print it, I need to save it first. And then all the information that we've entered will automatically feed through into the quote. So all of the digital or print media that are there are automatically reflected in the quote, and then we can go and have the customer sign it and get it returned to us so that as we're walking through, again, the Toronto Life detail that we'd entered in the opportunity has come through, and if there were any digital components, all that would be put through as well. So at this point, we've reviewed the basics in terms of creating and managing quotes, how to track them, how to find them within the account so that all of that information passes through directly into the organization. And then when we're done, all we need to do is go over here and under actions, we can activate the quote to make it the current quote. And what this will do is it'll close it out in the system, and then when the operations team is ready to go, they'll create it as an order and close it out in the system. So again, we've handled how to manage quotes, how to generate quotes, how to close them down, and if there's any questions, please feel free to ask.